Welcome to another episode of Searching for McGuffin with your host, George.
Gabe. Jinx.
Hey.
You don't owe me anything. It's okay.
Okay, so I can talk.
You're debt free.
You're okay. You're not going to pinch me later. All right. Well, it's been a long time coming, and they thought they could get rid of us. But we're back, baby. Fortnite? Okay.
We have to have a conversation.
Yeah, I have a problem. I'm sorry. Anyways, it's been a couple of weeks.
It's felt longer than it actually has been.
Yeah. It's been months, which is, I think we said towards the end of August, right? So September, October.
Yeah.
So it's been about 3 months, which is only about 12 weeks.
Yeah.
Which is a little longer than some of our hiatuses in the past, but not significantly much.
Yeah. No, it literally felt like I was gone for 6 months. And
Yeah. It felt, it got to a point where we're like, do we even have a show? People were asking me, hey, guys, are you gonna like come back?
Yeah, you're gonna produce more episodes.
You finally quit,
yeah,
losers.
You gave up, huh?
Yeah, but no, not all of us. We're here, and the other thing is too is sometimes these gaps feel even wider because you start working on the show before the show comes back.
Yeah.
So there's also like white noise in the sense, I don't think that was the right term, but just like radio silence basically, because like we keep going in our relationships and we still talk and we communicate, but we didn't talk about the show at all.
Yeah.
So it was like this unspoken elephant in the room.
Yeah, I think it has to do with just life. I think life has just gotten particularly busy, I think, for all of us.
Yeah.
And
there's been a lot of changes too.
There's been a lot of changes, and I think just big ones. I think for everyone in their own way, and obviously we're all going to talk and we're all still going to communicate.
Yeah.
But I think with the show, it's a responsibility. It's a responsibility to be able to produce this week to week, to continue, getting together, talking about this thing, meeting and planning, and so it was kind of like an extended summer vacation. I guess.
Exactly.
But
we worked through the summer on the show, even though most of us were off of work. And then we gave ourselves our own break once work starts to pick up again with the new academic year for most of us. And you had a little change, which I think we'll talk about.
Yeah.
So, but we're here to talk about where we've been thus far. So welcome to today's episode, There and Back Again, as we look back on 3 seasons and 124 episodes. And it's not a retrospective. We're not going to look back and talk about them. We did do that in the 100th episode, where you can go back and see clips from all 100. But I think there's an opportunity for us to look back and kind of see where we were and where we are now.
Yeah, I think it's insane, first of all, have 124 episodes.
You don't realize that we've been running this long.
Yeah. Like, that's like, what, 3 years?
It is we are starting our 4th year, so we're past the 3-year mark now.
Season 4, baby.
Yeah, season 4, and I think in your mind when you start a project like a multi-year project like this, you think, oh yeah, we're gonna do this for X amount of time. But once that time actually passes, it's hard to process. Okay, we're still here, like we're still going, and it also, I think at the end of every season, you're in this position, but especially this year, it was a chance to kind of see, all right, what's working, what's not working, what's the point of what we're doing, why are we doing it? Like, I think this happens in a lot of different areas of your life where you're at work or you're working on some other outside project or you have some hobby or whatever it might be, and you get to the point where there's a reason you're doing it, and there's a reason you started it, but you're starting to wonder what it is and how it applies to who you are now.
Yeah, and I think there's something else, especially I think that's been evident in my life, has just been starting something and not really knowing what the purpose, like, that, okay, this seems something that might be interesting, but there's no like real like driving force behind it. There's no like concrete base.
Yeah.
So for me, I found that a lot of times I would pick up something. It's like, oh, I'm going to start doing this. I'm going to start, learning a new language or something like that.
Mhm.
That one has been more prevalent. Like I'm trying to apply more purpose to it because of either trips or whatever, speaking with other people. But there's other things where it's like you get influenced by something. You watch a video about a topic or a movie, and you're just like, oh, I want to
Yeah.
start doing this. You watch a boxing movie, like I want to start like training or running or boxing or whatever.
Mhm.
And I found myself so many times where it's like I don't have a real purpose. I didn't think about it that way, but it's like looking back on it, it's like, oh, there wasn't a real driving force behind that. So in about 2 to 3 weeks,
Yeah, yeah. It's almost like an
gone.
impulse, lifestyle choice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I found that, I mean, I've definitely gotten better with it as I've gotten older, as I've matured. But I think in late teens, early 20s, it was just I was very I could be like influenced very easily,
Mhm.
like to pick up something to try and start do something and then really not follow through with it. And I think all of us kind of have that.
Yeah, I think that's the culture we live in now today, and I don't even think it matters your age. Obviously, when you're young, you're worried about um experience, I think. When you're older, me now in my 40s, I think I have that thing where it's like I'm 40 years old. I know what I like. I can say no to this, But
Yeah.
even then, I think you're always on a journey of exploration. Learning's a big thing for me, and you learn through experience. So sometimes you're marketed these experiences and you're like, I have to do this. And you get that almost FOMO for life,
Yeah.
where you're like, well, this for me, we talk about the art, right? And I'm an educator and I teach theater. Plus, this whole show is just about media. So it's like, oh, I got to catch this performance, this concert, because it's good, it's edifying, but also I can only juggle so many things.
Yeah.
And you start to try to like adapt things. Like I got a laundry list of things I want to do before I die. I want to learn guitar. Maybe I should take some singing lessons.
Hmm.
Um, like you said, another language. I've got 5 I want to do before I die. Hopefully I'll get to a third one.
Hmm.
But you want to be this like best version of yourself, and you want to be a holistic person, but sometimes that becomes doing way too much or trying to basically live a
It's
revolution
not
daily. Yeah.
sustainable. It's like you try to like change your whole life radically, and a lot of times I found that you really just go back to doing what you've kind of always been doing.
Yeah.
Like, let's say I wanted to. What's an example? I wanted to take on an activity that takes up a lot of my downtime, but it's like 2 to 3 weeks. It's like, okay, I'm not really that into it or driven, and it's like I'm back watching Netflix or binging something, or
Mm.
sitting down or playing video games, or I don't know, just doing something that I've done most of my life.
Yeah.
And there are habits I think everything in moderation
Yeah.
is appropriate. And I think there are things that I would like I love doing. I love obviously watching movies, watching TV, but I do realize that sometimes I do that too much, where
Yeah.
it's like I get that, like, you have a day where it's like, okay, I'm just gonna binge, I'm gonna chill, I'm gonna relax. But it's like then it becomes the whole weekend. Then it's like I'm avoiding my responsibilities. I'm not doing the things that I'm supposed to be doing. Oh, or I'm not doing it as well as I can.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of where I'm at now. It's like I want to stop half-assing things
Yeah.
and just actually putting in that effort. And I think that also is like I want to translate that into
Yeah.
what we do here
Ironically, this show is a product of that.
of half-assing.
Oh, yeah, yeah, sure. That's not what I was getting at, but yes, that as well, in the sense of this. And I'm not gonna go too much into it because we've talked about the past and how the show has started.
Yeah.
We were kind of brainstorming that with producer Dan before we set up to record this, and he was like, "Yeah, we've talked about the origin of the show. I don't even know what we've talked about at this point
Mhm.
because your experience here kind of bleeds into the conversations you have, with your friends and family normally. It's like,
Yeah.
what part of me is part of the show and what part of me is just, my everyday life.
Yeah.
But this is a product of that in the sense that we had this idea for years. And I know I had this idea like when podcasts were first like on the fringe of the next form of communicative entertainment, I was like, this format is genius because when I was growing up, I loved radio. I loved talk radio, and I loved journalism. And when podcasts first started, I was like, wow, you can just deliver this on-demand content from anywhere to anyone. And it was just like, I got to do a show. Years passed before that. And, we met each other along the way. I mean, we met producer Dan. Obviously, we're family. But we got to the point where our relationship was like, maybe this is a thing that we could pivot together. And as podcasts got bigger and bigger, and now it's this like flooded market, and which is fine, because everything is, I think.
Yeah.
Which is another part of that experience, like trying to adopt everything. I want to watch everything. I want to see everything. Oh, there's this new show. There's this new, this video online. But then when you mentioned half-assing it, you said it became a responsibility. And sometimes you don't think about the things you like. Your passion projects eventually become responsibilities. I think you're seeing that in your career now. You go to school because you have a passion for this, but then it's work. And then you got to find.
Yeah, sometimes the season in my life right now, I'm working for free.
Yeah.
With my rotation. So
sometimes it feels like I'm working for free, but no, I'm. But the thing is, the aspects of your passion, what you have to do to get what you want to do, you've got to remember why you want to do it.
Exactly.
And sometimes that means illuminating it. Taking a break from the show gave me some opportunities, ironically, to watch some new stuff. Because what ended up happening was the show was dictating my habits.
Yeah, what you were watching, because it's like, oh, we had to watch this because we're gonna talk about this on an episode, and it's just like, I mean, you don't enjoy it because it becomes a chore at that point.
Yeah, because it's like, I am looking forward to this, but maybe I was going to watch it on Friday after I was done with work. But the only time we have to
deadlines.
The only time we have to record is Thursday, so I've got to cram it in by Wednesday, And sometimes we'd be watching the last episode before we, hit record and things like that. But I did get to see this show that kind of like reinvigorated, ironically, my passion on the show and maybe in life. And it's kind of a strange title to do that, but it's Nobody Wants This. Did you watch the show?
I did.
Okay. What did you think about it?
I loved it.
Okay.
I really enjoyed it.
What was it that you enjoyed about it?
I think it was very refreshing. I know that, like, we'll probably talk about the podcast aspect of one of the main characters, but I think it was the show, if you haven't seen it, it's about, two people that meet, and it's about the dating world and the wonders of miscommunication and proper communication. And I think when two people try, and when two people, have effort, there's so many things, pulling people, apart, or there's so many different dynamics and factors that can lead to people, not being together. Not, you can feel passionately and strongly about a person, but at the end of the day, I realized, like, it takes two people. And I think when two people don't half-ass something, when people are like, giving it their best effort, then, it can work. And we'll see where it takes for season 2 from what happens. But
what are people saying, by the way? What was the reaction to the show?
Loved it. Everyone thought it was great. I mean, I haven't heard someone say something negative about it.
I don't know. I think all my algorithms just give me mixed reviews for everything.
And probably. And just like a lot of people that I wouldn't, like, honestly, I wouldn't even
moderate.
I wouldn't even expect it. Honestly, I didn't think you would watch it. Like, I knew Kristen Bell, so like, yeah, probably.
I was like, oh, Kristen Bell's on it, and then I looked at the episode count, and I was like, oh, short time length and like short amount of episodes.
Yeah.
This is.
But it's like there was people that are like, oh, you watch Netflix?
I mean,
TV? And they watched it and they really enjoyed it.
I mean, to be completely honest, my wife made me watch it. She was like, all right, this one's my show. I want
exactly, but it's not something that's like, oh, that's out, I'm watching it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's how it happened, actually, because I was out doing something. So she likes to explore the shows that I'm probably not going to watch. So she's like, oh, it's a Netflix romantic comedy. This is probably going to suck. Let me watch it. And the first one, she was like, no, it's too good. And she stopped immediately and she's like, this is the next show.
And it's short, so it's not like it's a lot to.
And then she was like, this is the next show we're watching. And I'm like, Kristen Bell, short episodes, short episode count. Okay, I'm there. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. The relationship stuff was really interesting. And again, this is not an episode on Nobody Wants This.
Yeah.
But you mentioned reaching those challenges and then just like calling it quits.
Yeah.
Like you see when she's like, oh, the ick episode. Yeah. And you haven't seen it.
That's such a...
it was like this was the end of all her relationships previously, and to push through that,
Yeah.
because it seems so superficial on the outside, but I was like, I do that. I do
No,
that all the time. Like, I get frustrated with something, and I'm like, forget it.
it's relatable. I think there's a lot of things that happen in real life where it's like, yeah, people have stopped talking to other people for less, you know?
Yeah,
And
that's happening a lot lately, actually.
and the thing that I like is that this show shows progress. It shows growth on two individuals. It shows that they have their flaws, they have their issues, they have their baggage that they come in with, but that it's possible. And they have the people, especially the people like talking in their ears, like some of them aren't as supportive as they should be, and like, you know, they persevere through that. And I think it's not even, doesn't have to be just for relationships. I think persevering through, let's say, a passion project you have, a creative outlet that you want to explore,
Which they explore that.
exactly.
Yeah.
And people are like, I don't like, this isn't what I want to, like, I don't think that's going to work out for you. I think you should stay, like, not take a risk and stay safe. And I think that the show does a good job of saying, like, no, like, do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Like, keep your voice, keep what you want to say. Like, don't change it for anybody, and figure it out. It's a risk, of course. Life is full of risks.
Yeah. So she's a podcast host, and they're like on the cusp of the next level of success. And it kind of works on both spectrums, because sometimes I feel it's easy to quit when you don't see the fruits of your labors. Like, you know, okay, you're only having modest success. You know, it's not really bringing in any money, you know. And we talked a little bit about this in a personal conversation yesterday about like what defines success. And we're kind of like financial success, like meaning and purpose, et cetera, et cetera. But it's easy to be like, you know what, this isn't working. Let me look for something else. Let me abandon this. And then there's the other aspect, which is too much success. It's like, what's the next step? Do I want to reach that? Do I want to make the compromises that it takes to get to the next level? Will I lose my voice and personal drive in relation to whatever it is that you're exploring?
And even relationships.
Yeah, in relationships as well.
And
yeah.
it's like, you know, there's a unique dynamic there that kind of touches on that.
Yeah.
Where it's like you're getting everything that you dream for, but it might cost you this in the process.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's so interesting to.
And it's perfect, except for this one giant like sacrifice.
Exactly. Like it's everything lines up. All the boxes are checked, but it's the one thing that it's like it could be a deal breaker, you know?
Yeah, because I think in the end, everything doesn't line up. Like all the boxes can't be checked. It's impossible. I don't think you can find a perfect situation. And if there is, I mean, I haven't seen it. You know, everything requires there's got to be a cost analysis.
It's a compromise too, where it's just like at the end, like, yeah, you might be at the finish line, but it's like, oh, do I even want to reach that? You know, if it costs me something that important. And yeah, I thought it was great, but it was also interesting because of where we were, I think, with this show as well.
Yeah.
Like having the direct, you know, example of them having a podcast and things like that.
Yeah. So enough about them. Nobody wants this. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. I think the show
I agree.
highly recommends it. And that's kind of the headspace we were operating. Nobody wants this show. You know, nobody wants this to work out. Were the thoughts that were kind of running through my mind. Like, you know,
it's a chore. You gotta obviously take time out of a very busy schedule that seems to be just getting more and more busy, like as the weeks progress.
Yeah.
And it's planning, and it's like kind of like forcing yourself to watch something. You like, obviously we're gonna watch it, but I think you said before, it's like now we're on a crunch. Now we're in a crunch time, you know. And it's like,
and I'm tired from work, so like I do want to talk about this, but do I really want to talk about it?
And it's those things that come up, like in relationships with friendships or, you know, significant others, where it's like, yeah, these things come up, but it's like at the end of the day, why do you do this? Why are you here?
And that's what we kind of had to find out, and we still have to find out.
Yeah,
right?
the point of this show is to, you know, find the deeper meanings.
Oh, okay. The tagline.
Find the deeper meanings of it, like why storytelling is important. Is why these different mediums are so effective, and, you know, why we're constantly talking about them. But in a way, like it can be used as a mirror to like, why do we do the things that we do?
Right.
Why do we watch the things that we do? Like, yeah, enough about like, you know, it coming to us and like us taking it in and watching it.
Consumption.
Exactly. Why is it that, you know, we do this show? Why is it that we want to have this creative outlet? You know, aside from things that, you know, your job, you're an educator. What are some other things that you like to do that isn't your job, educating?
Video games.
Okay. Why do you like playing video games?
Um, ironically, the stories that they tell and our ability to experience them in an interactive setting. You know, you can watch TV, you can watch movies, but you are the story, you know, in a game.
And that right there is the gist of all of this. It's
Yeah.
like we want to talk about these things. We want to share that with other people, and that's why we do this.
Yeah.
You know, and I think having this break, having this time away, and where it's like I reached out and I was like, hey, like, what's the move for the show? Because I realized that I missed it. I missed, you know, doing this with you guys as a family, as friends, and
there's a social aspect of that because like I wanted to do the show, but I was like, I don't want to do the show if nobody else wants to do the show.
Because you don't want to do something if you're gonna half-ass it.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And so
I didn't say anything. I was like, I wonder if anyone else is gonna bring it up.
Yeah.
And you did.
And so with the mentality of it is like, I want to start, like, not that I haven't, because it's been, I think I've just been inconsistent with effort,
Mm-hmm.
not only on this show, but I think in different aspects of my life. And I think like I just decided, I realized like I want to do the best that I can in everything that I do.
Yeah.
And if everything that I do is too much, then it's like, okay, maybe I got to cut something out that it's like, it's not really that important to me, or like I want to put
Find the priorities.
my focus and time.
Put it on the back burner if it's not. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that we are, I don't know, I feel like at this point in my life, I'm on my rotation. I'm in the clinic. I'm working as a therapist. And it's like anytime like I'm tired or I'm exhausted and I have to get up really early, like I find myself like on that car ride over, I'm like, all right, why am I doing this? And I'm little by little doing that because I think it's easy.
I can relate to that so much.
I think it's easy to just get lost in the sauce of it a lot of times, where it's just mindless showing up to work, rinse and repeat, you know?
Yeah.
And I think in those moments is where you lose your passion, you lose your love for what you do.
Yeah.
And it's just, sometimes it's not going to be a great day. A lot of times it's not a great day.
A week, not a great week,
But
not
then,
a great month.
But then the days that they are a great day, man,
they hit hard.
They're up there.
Yeah.
They're up there. Yeah.
I think in order to see where you're going moving forward, sometimes you have to look back.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we don't like doing that because we have to look at self-reflection. We have to look at, you know, where we were, and sometimes we don't like the images that we see there.
Yeah.
But one thing, when I was thinking about why, I think about how it's trickled into the other avenues of my life. How communicating for this set amount of time weekly has helped me become a better communicator in my day-to-day. I think a lot more, and sometimes I still speak without thinking, but I think a lot more about what I'm going to say. Because, for example, when you're in front of the camera, you've got to think about it. Yeah. If you misspeak, you've got to then, like, realign it. And I'm kind of in that mode now. And sometimes that can be like, okay, I'm being performative. I need to be a little more, you know, genuine and transparent, although that is still the kind of the tone we go for here. Mm-hmm. But the other side of it is that I really do process the things that I say. So I've grown as a communicator in those experiences, and I think it's rebuilt relationships in a sense.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of the experience of doing this has subconsciously helped me. Mm-hmm. I think that because it's like you talk about, you know, being a better communicator, and I do feel like I didn't think about it immediately, but like I do think that I've been better with that. I know that before, and I still do it from time to time. It's just like how I speak, mm-hmm. and the words that I choose, and I think going too fast sometimes, and just finding a way to slow it down a bit.
Yeah,
because I don't think about things sometimes when it's like when I'm speaking, I'm just like I'm going like 100 miles per minute, you know?
Yeah.
And to be able to slow it down and actually think about what you're going to say, what the next words are going to be, is something that I found that I've been able to take into, practicing as a clinician, and I mean where I'm at now with school and finishing up, but also working with other people. I think has helped just to be better with being on time. You know, there's other people. You when you're working with someone, there's other like, their time is up there too, and like I have to value that.
Yeah.
Not just because your family, your friends, or you're comfortable. It's like no, if you're gonna, it's a part of like half-assing that. It's like if you're gonna treat this, if you're gonna give it everything you got, then treat each other like professionals, like a
Yeah.
colleague, and that's I think that's the trajectory of where I'm at now. That's the things that the show has taught me, and I think just also being able to spend time with you guys, has made us closer.
Yeah.
I want to say.
We mentioned this also when we were out. We were out to lunch together, and something came up that one of us ordered a drink,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew exactly why one of us likes that drink and where that came from, a story that we shared here.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that as close as you can be to someone, actually spending the time and eliciting the conversation, I think it's drawn us closer together in that sense, because I know things about you that even though we spent all this time talking, I would have never known. We would have never had those, especially when you and me are one-on-one on an episode,
Yeah.
those moments of opening up, right? And even then those tertiary like experiences that, man, I didn't know you went through that. Like,
Yeah, because at the same time, it's like it's not like I'm gonna talk about this time I went to a theme park because there's no prompt. Like I'm not thinking about that. It's not
yeah,
something I just bring up in conversation. But it's like, you know, unraveling. I think the thread.
yeah,
Yeah. So just kind of like peeling back the layers. I think is what this show has been able to do for us, and ideally, that's kind of like why we do this.
right,
You know.
right.
Um.
You mentioned being better at your job.
Yeah.
I felt the same thing too, because I've taken what I've learned on this show, the little bit that I've learned, because thankfully we have two very talented producers, and Nick here and Dan up in Orlando to help us through the technological process of this. But I've been able to take those aspects and kind of guide others and my job. You mentioned like, what is it that you like that has nothing to do with your job? And the first thing that came to my mind on the spot was video games. It was like, and I think I've mentioned it before on the show, so I'm not going to go into deep detail, but taking gaming, putting it in the classroom, taking video, audio production, putting it into these like long form projects. That's been something that has helped give meaning to my job when I sometimes feel like, why do I do this?
No, that's honestly, and there's things that you tell me that like things that you implement in your class, and I'm just like, man, I wish I had you as a teacher. Where it's like, you have like, because there just wasn't. I feel like when we went to the same school, it's like I feel like there wasn't that level of
I think intentionality,
yeah, but also I think maybe because the generational divide,
right?
where it's like
Connection,
there was
Okay.
there was a disconnect I think there, where it's like traditional ways of teaching,
right?
which isn't bad. Like that's we've
No, because that's my goal. That's to take the tradition and make it relevant for now. And this show's helped me see that too. Because like I think one time we talked about, I was drawing parallels, and I didn't plan to, but I was drawing parallels of like Sir Gawain in The Green Knight.
Mhm.
This tale's super old and really difficult, I think, for young audiences to connect with. But then there was a new movie at the time, and then we were comparing it to Iron Man, and how our heroes are still guys in suits of iron. And I just came up with that on the spot. But now it's like, now I have this comparison, this metaphor to go take back, and use it in my everyday life.
Yeah, I think what you do with your students is incredible, and I'm proud of you. I admire you for that.
Not that I'm great; they don't all love it. It doesn't all work all the time, but I'm trying, and that's what gives me meaning. And if that helps someone else enjoy / inspire or experience, then I hope that's the goal.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like what the purpose of this is to help us find some meaning and help us like if someone else listens and they get something out of that too, then I'm happy with that.
Yeah, and I think part of it is that imposter syndrome. Early on in the show, I tried to kind of navigate these two worlds, my real life and the show, as separate spheres. And in my everyday life, I was embarrassed about referencing the show, talking about the show. So people would find out, yeah, you have a show or whatever. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Try to change the subject. It was kind of cringe, right? On the show, I would hide a lot about who I was, what I did. You know, I wouldn't have a conversation like this because it's like, if someone sees me on the show, are they going to see that reflected in my real life? Are they going to evaluate that way? And vice versa. But through this process, I'm proud of what we've done the last couple of years. And I think just until recently, literally heading into season 4, have I been like able to own the duality of our experience.
Yeah, where it's like, yeah, I have a podcast. Because before people like friends would introduce me to other people, and they're like, "Yeah, this guy has a podcast," and I'm like, "Yeah, sure." It's like, "Oh, what's it called?" I'm like, But now it's just like,
how can I listen to it? It's on Spotify.
it's somewhere
you
there.
can find
Just
it.
YouTube it. Maybe you'll find it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But now it's just like, no, like it's something where it's like if I meet someone new, it's something that I do. It's something that I'll tell them that it's like, this is something I'm a part of and I do.
Yeah.
And it's
I'm not hawking it. I'm not like, hey guys, I'm a, you know.
Yeah, I'm a big time podcaster. You know what it is.
Hey guys, listen, search, subscribe. You know.
No, but it's something that I enjoy doing, and it's something that's now it's something as easy that I can tell is like I go like I can tell them it's like I play soccer or I like to run or whatever, do whatever.
My brain has been able to process it. It is a part of my identity.
I've accepted.
Yeah.
You know, I was in denial for a very long time, but no, I've enjoyed this whole process experience, and I'm very excited for this new season and the different changes and traditions that we're gonna find and continue to do along the way.
And change can be hard sometimes, and it's not all gonna work, right? But life is an experiment, and you go right back and draw up a new hypothesis when the first one fails. So, with that thought in mind, next week we're going to be taking a look at what the future of the show.
The future.
Right? We look a little bit at the past, and we talked about where we're at now, but we're going to see where we might be headed. So, with that thought in mind, thank you for joining us this week, and we look forward to spending another episode with you in the weeks to come. So,
yeah. Stop half-assing things and keep on searching.